And 1, 2, 3, and we should be live. Hopefully we are live. Hopefully the internet is cooperating today. I'm not really sure what's going on. Hello everybody, this is Ned over at My Philippine Dreams, N to the E to the D over at MPD, coming at you from Dumaguete City, the city of gentle people, Negros Oriental, the Philippines. Today is April 12th, 2017. Oh my, April is going by so fast. And this is our weekly live cast over events that are going on in the Philippines that could affect foreigners visiting, retiring, living, studying, working, doing anything basically inside the Philippines area of responsibility. And we got some things we're going to be talking about today. There's actually quite some important ones. We got some travel advisories that were issued by various state departments. We have Abu Sayef activity. They were actually attacked yesterday morning around 5 a.m. in a pre-dawn attack by government forces on the island of Bohol, which is where me and Michelle just came from. And Bohol is also one of the big tourist destinations. We're also going to be talking about painkillers, opioid painkillers in the Philippines, and the conviction of a U.S. Marine that was recently upheld by the Philippine Appeals Court. But first off, today's live cast is brought to you by Datu Puti. Yes, Datu Puti vinegar for all your culinary, feminine hygiene, and dipping sauce needs. It's Datu Puti. And Datu Puti, actually, I believe in Tagalog it means white prince. And if someone can figure out why they call their vinegar white prince and can email it to me at myphilippinedreams@gmail.com, I'll send you a free copy of our book. All right, hold on. Let me just check to make sure this live stream is actually functional. It looks like it is. Okay. First off, the weather. Summer is on its way. All those low pressure areas. In the U.S., I didn't like low pressure areas because it usually means hot and humid weather. I like the big blue H's, the high pressure areas. But high pressure area has finally moved in. It's been very sunny. It's been very warm. It's heating up. All the kids are out of school because in the Philippines, it is summer vacation, which is basically April, May, and a little bit into June. So it's getting warm. I actually got the fan on today, and I'm sure the aircon is going to be going on later this afternoon. Michelle is coming back from Mindanao tonight. She went to Mindanao last week for the anniversary of her father passing away and to spend time with some family. She was actually texting me and calling me last night because she was in Pagadian City and they experienced a 7-hour brownout. And that's one of the things, when you're living out, you know, I won't say Pagadian City is the province, but when you're out in isolated areas or you're down in Mindanao and you're dependent on the hydro systems that they have there and there hasn't been much rain and there's low water, you're going to get brownouts. It just happens. Michelle also caught some crabs while she was down there. Actually, her family owns multiple fish farms and they raise prawns and crabs and fish, bangus and all that stuff. And she'll be bringing those back with her and cooking them up for me. So that's something to look forward to. Trivia question. Last week's trivia question was, this Japanese anime was ported over to the United States in 1979. Two of the protagonists in the show were the feisty Derek Wildstar and the sexy, for a cartoon that is, Nova, who played the communications officer. The correct answer was Star Blazers, also known as Space Battleship Yamato. It was actually, the Battleship Yamato was actually World War II. It was one of the biggest battleships ever made. It had 18-inch guns, and it was in the anime they turned it into a spaceship and had the wave motion gun and all that stuff. And after seeing that, I was 12 years old. I used to run home from school every day to watch Star Blazers, and I wanted to be a fighter pilot like Derek Wildstar. Unfortunately, I had 2400 vision and couldn't fly. So the correct answer was Star Blazers, and Mike F., Mark Henderson, they both received a free copy of my ebook, Chasing Your Philippine Dream, An Expat's Guide to the Philippines, because there was only 2 correct answers that were emailed. Matt Pilgrim and Kyle Sakamoto also answered correctly, but stated that they already had the book. And also a copy was resent to KI4GLX, because he said he hadn't received it yet. So I just sent that out, I don't know, about an hour ago, because I'm always late doing this stuff. This week's trivia question, and if you get this right, you get a free copy of our ebook. It's a pretty simple one. First 3 correct answers sent to myphilippinedreams@gmail.com will receive a free complimentary copy of our stunningly popular ebook, Chasing Your Philippine Dreams. This lady was nominated for 9 VMA awards in 2009 and was awarded 3. A multi-instrumentalist and incredibly powerful vocalist, she also recently performed at a major, some might say the major, U.S. sporting event. Name that musician. First 3 correct answers, email to myphilippinedreams@gmail.com. Get a free copy of our ebook. Make sure that live stream's still functioning. It still looks okay. Also, this is coming to you in glorious 360p because that's all my PLDT is capable of. It's 300 megabits. No, it's 300 kilobits per second. 500, I don't know what it is. It's horrible. 0.5. First up, government forces launch attack against suspected Abu Sayef in Bohol. This just happened yesterday morning. At least 700 individuals left their homes in Inabanga, Bohol. And Inabanga is like on the northwest coast of Bohol, right across from Cebu City, after government forces engaged with suspected Abu Sayef members who were spotted in the province. At least 4 government forces and 5 suspected terrorists were killed in the firefight that started at 5 a.m. on Tuesday. That was yesterday morning. Multiple assault rifles and improvised explosive devices were reportedly seized. No civilian casualties have been reported. The provincial government and military personnel have assured tourists and other Boholanos not to worry about the clash as the incident is, quote, contained. Tourists in Bohol are encouraged to stay and continue their vacations because security forces are addressing the incursion. The military also lauded the local community's vigilance that led to the immediate operation against the armed men. Government security forces simply reinforced the vigilance of the people of Bohol, who organized themselves into a strong force to keep the province safe from any threat group, the Armed Forces of the Philippines said in a statement. A local villager had reported to the police that 3 odd pump boats were in the area with armed strangers. The pump boats were identified as of unique Mindanao make. That's why one of the reasons why they're suspecting they might be Abu Sayef. This attack comes just as multiple nations around the world are issuing travel advisories centered around possible kidnapping attempts for the Central Visayas region. I believe this is the first major travel advisories for this area that have been issued. I believe it's covering all the Central Visayas, and somebody just emailed me this morning and said Siquijor, the little island of Siquijor, is also included, because Siquijor has a big tourist population also. It's also Holy Week here in the Philippines, a time of the year when all the ports and roads are packed with people visiting family. It's an extremely busy time of the year. Traveling around, there's just hordes of people all over the place. So maybe they were using that time period to try to blend in more successfully with the population. Also, what's interesting is our tour guide, when we were down in Bohol, we were talking about the NPA and insurgency and all that stuff, and he said it wasn't really an issue anymore. And I asked him why that was, because I don't know. And he just held up his cell phone. He says, there's cell phone towers all over the islands now. They can't hide. They used to be able to blend in and hide, and nobody would be able to report them because there was no cell phone coverage, but now we have cell phone coverage. But it was noted in a number of articles that that area of Inabanga does not have cell phone coverage. It's a really isolated area, and again, it's right across from Cebu. So there's all kinds of theorizing what was going on, what went down. There were some bad people. It looks like some of them were taken out, some of them were captured, and some of them blended off into the jungle. So as far as I'm concerned, I mean, this is just a wake-up call. You got to stay safe. This is not a good time to be going out, cruising around the islands, going on little trips around, being off in isolated areas. It's good to have your local police number handy, know what your local police number is and how to get a hold of them. Report suspicious activity, keep your windows and doors locked, have a dog like Angel out there who will bark and give you some warning. Maintain situational awareness. Make sure people aren't following you, especially following you home. And you probably don't want to be taken alive. I mean, these Abu Sayef guys, I think that means the sword of God. These Abu Sayef guys are pretty hardcore, and they will kill you. And they don't kill you quickly, they kill you slowly. They just decapitated a German this year And last year, I believe, they decapitated 2 Canadians because they weren't able to pay their ransom. So this is a big wake-up call. This is a big problem. You can tell that the government's scrambling because they're making a number of declarations saying that the area is safe, that they have troops and police deployed out in those areas. This could really affect tourism and in the Philippines. And also, there's reports that ISIS, ISIL, whatever you want to call them, are trying to gain a foothold in Mindanao. So that's that. Travel advisories are still in effect from a number of Western and Eastern nations. Actually, it's nations all across the world. They had credible information, and they have credible information that some kidnapping attempts may take place. So be careful. Don't go on trips. Stay in groups. And try not to be taken alive, because these guys do not play around. All right, let's go to the comments real quick. Yeah, ladder rains. Yeah, they decapitate them. And they don't use like a sword or a battle axe. They use like knives, and it takes a very long time. Hey, what's up from Kentucky? Jason Jones. Easter holidays. Yes, Tim Rogers. This is a very busy time of the year. Matter of fact, Michelle's coming back today, and she's probably going to have a hard time getting back here. The crabs, yeah. Yeah, Hatter60 says, I'm your girlfriend, nothing better than a .45 caliber. We are not allowed to have firearms in the Philippines, but Filipinos and Filipinas are allowed. Getting the licensing and all that stuff can be a bit of a chore. The easiest one to get, I believe, is the shotgun, a license to have a shotgun. So that's that. All right, quickly into my painkiller quest. I'm going back to the United States soon. And with my back condition, I got the cervical radiculopathy and the lumbar radiculopathy and all that. I constantly have to move around. I'm constantly fidgeting, getting up and down, because if I sit too long in one place, it causes a great deal of pain, a great deal of radiculopathy. So I figured I'd get a couple Percocets or a couple Vicodin for the flight back to the United States. So I went to the hospital the other day to do this. And of course, it's a long, protracted process. And one of the problems, one of the things that I learned, because I'm learning as I go along, is not every doctor can prescribe painkillers. They actually have what special pads, special prescription pads, and they call them yellow pads, or they call it an S2 license to dispense opioid medications. And they also don't have medications that we're used to or familiar with, at least in this area. I'm sure up in Luzon, Cebu, they have access to more types of medications. So the pharmacies around here didn't have any Percocets, any Vicodin, or what they call Percocet and Vicodin. So she gave me morphine sulfate. And I was kind of taken aback because I believe morphine's pretty strong. I'm not sure exactly. And I got to do more research on it. And so we're talking, and she wants to prescribe me 21 pills. And I'm like, I'm only going to be on a flight for 30 hours or so. I don't need 21 pills. But she insisted, and she said I should actually start taking them now. And I'm not too crazy about opioids. I don't like the side effects, and I don't like the dependency that can come as a result of using them. So I was talking to her, and she actually said, oh, don't worry, morphine is not addictive, so you could actually start taking it now. And I didn't argue with her. I didn't want to get into it. She's the expert. She's the medical doctor. So I took the prescription. I went down to the pharmacy, and I just got 6 pills. I got to look up online to see how strong they are compared to Vicodin, Percocet. Hopefully I won't have to take them. I'm going to bring my tramadol. I got my prescription, and I got a little container of those. So we'll see what happens. But again, it's more fun in the Philippines. It's different here in the Philippines when it comes to trying to secure or find certain things. And it was just weird that the doctor said that morphine isn't addictive. She said it's not a big deal. All right, this week's featured Philippines expat vlogger is Bud Brown. Yes, Bud Brown. He of the Molly Mobile and the drone, the Phantom 3. I'm so jealous. First thing you got to realize about Bud is he does his videos out of enjoying what he does. He loves doing it. He loves, sharing information and helping to educate and edify people. He gets no AdSense. He does not have AdSense on his YouTube. So he's not doing it for the monetary gain. He's doing it for all the right reasons. He's also a great guy. I mean, out of all the Philippine expat vloggers that I've met, he is the best of us. It's pretty much simple as that. So this is taken from their YouTube channel, Linguist, Public School Teacher, and Traveler. Bud Brown believes that life is an adventure and people around the world have a lot to share. His YouTube channel shares that excitement of learning, teaching, and helping. Bud Brown is presently in the Philippines with his Filipino wife, Gloria, and their pet dog, Molly. And Molly is not an Ascall. Do not refer to Molly as an Ascall when Gloria is around or you will get smacked. She's a purebred something. She's an Ascall. So basically it's life from the perspective of an American who married a Filipina decades ago in the United States. They lived and worked there for a very long time and they've retired back here to her home nation. Bud is also a multilingualist. He knows a number of languages. I believe in Vietnam. That's what his job was. He was a translator, and he knows, Vietnamese. And he's also a longtime member, a participant in our monthly spaghetti fests. So, he just doesn't talk the talk. He walks the walk. He always volunteers the services of himself and the Molly Mobile to help us do that. And he's just a good freaking guy. So check out his channel. A link to his channel can be found down in the video description box. So check him out, subscribe. He's always got good information coming out. He's always got good content coming out. And again, we want perspectives. If you haven't come here, if you haven't visited, if you're thinking about it, you got to check out all these different sites. Yeah, even the kind of crazy ones, because everybody's got a different perspective, and there's a lot of truth and a lot of bullshit to be found on all the channels, including my own. So that's that. All right, back to the comments, and then we're going to finish this up. Yeah, Ian Baker says morphine's not addictive. Wow, who knew? Yeah, I ain't messing with that stuff. Somebody says morphine is not as good as Percocet. 30 milligrams morphine equals 20 milligram Percocet. Okay, I'll check out. Merwin Green says, woman follow me home. Yeah. Don't let that happen either. Yeah, Michael Wright, really a terrorist activity in Bohol, that's not good. No, because, Bohol's got a huge, Alona Beach is a massive tourist destination. And there's a lot of wealthy Chinese and a lot of wealthy Koreans that go down there and spend a lot of money and spend a lot of time. So, that's a target-rich environment. There's areas south of Dumaguete. You got, down, I'm not going to say specifically where because I don't want to give people ideas, but there's huge, resorts down there. There was a resort in Palawan that was targeted by terrorists not that long ago. Actually, I think it was like 10 years ago. But they literally raided the resort and took, people hostage and all that stuff. And the police had the armed forces of the Philippines came in, and there was a bloody firefight, and lots of people were killed, including some of the foreign hostages. I might not be correct on all that. I might be making some of it up, so double check that. But it was a resort in Palawan, I believe. All right, we have 110 people watching now. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for contributing civilly to the chat here. I can't keep up with all the chat because it's coming in pretty quickly. Oh, Ace Papad says, it's ridiculopathy to think you'll get narcotics quickly or easily. Yeah. Expat in Training says, try an epidural. Yeah, I had one of those about 2 years ago. It worked really well for about 6 months, and it came back. So this time I'm looking into getting a microlabendectomy done, because it's ridiculous. All right, finally, let's talk about ladyboys, and let's talk about conviction of a U.S. Marine. Conviction of U.S. Marine upheld by Philippine Appeals Court. The conviction of a U.S. Marine for the 2014 killing of a transgender Filipina in a case that anti-America sentiment in the Philippines was upheld by a court Monday. So they this is all Filipino, this is all off their sites, so sometimes the English isn't too good. Lance Corporal Joseph Scott Pemberton was found guilty of homicide in 2015 for the killing of Jennifer Lade in a Philippines motel a year earlier, prompting his lawyers to file appeal. But the Philippine Courts of Appeal rejected the appeal on Monday, saying Pemberton's argument that he acted out of self-defense when Lade slapped him was, quote, more imaginary than real and, quote, easily concocted. The court went on to say the only reason why he attacked Lade was that he was furious at him for pretending to be a woman, nothing more, nothing less. Pemberton met transgender Filipina Lade in October 2014 in a bar in the city of Olongapo. Olongapo is just northwest, I believe, or southeast of Subic. Northwest. After the Marine took part in a joint U.S.-Philippine military exercise. During the trial, a lower court held that Pemberton and Lade agreed to have sex after meeting in the city's red light district, but that the drunken Marine turned violent when he discovered Lade still had male genitalia. He was sentenced to 6 to 10 years in prison and is being held in a cell in the country's military headquarters in Manila. Pemberton's homicide conviction was the first under a visiting forces agreement between the U.S. and Philippines signed in 1998, covering the legal liability of American troops taking part in military operations in the Southeast Asian nation. All right, so we don't want to get involved in crazy stuff in the Philippines. We don't want to get involved in the court system in the Philippines. Keep your noses clean, stay out of trouble. If you go to seedy areas, you're going to find, seedy stuff going on, and bad things can happen, especially if you're intoxicated and you're alone. That's like the worst combination that you can have here in the Philippines. It's basically setting yourself up. Also, so he got 6 to 10 years. So he didn't get a life sentence from the Philippine court system. So they obviously took some of the evidence that was presented in the case or the situation into consideration at the time of sentencing, because they didn't quote unquote smoke him when it came down to a sentencing. He didn't get phone numbers. He got a 6 to 10. I don't know how they work here. I don't know if they have good time off of that or what, but he's not going to be having a good time, even though he's basically in protective custody in the country's military headquarters in Manila. And as you also might recall, the boyfriend, who was a European of Jennifer Lade, he actually jumped a fence and tried to attack Pemberton, and he got blacklisted for that. He was, basically deported for, jumping the security fence and trying to attack Pemberton. He was obviously upset because his fiancée, his girlfriend, whatever it may be, had been murdered by this guy. So it's a sad situation for all involved. The family lost a daughter, and Pemberton's parents obviously lost their son temporarily, but at least they know at some point, hopefully, he's coming back home. So these are all things that can affect foreigners in the Philippines, no matter where you're from. If you are outside the Philippines, if you are coming into the Philippines, there are a number of things to take into consideration, especially with these travel advisories and this terrorist activity, because these guys do not play around. They they are hardcore. It's all ideology. They see non-believers as infidels and basically lacking in humanity. Also, one last thing I'm going to talk about, even though I didn't write this out, President Duterte, I guess there was an international tribunal or something on, crimes against humanity that was speaking out against him, and his response was, the drug addicts and the drug dealers that are being killed in my country, these criminals, they are not humans, they lack humanity. So I thought that was an interesting quote from him. Once more, back to the comments, and then I am out. We got 126 people watching. Yeah. Hey, KI4GLX, did you get the same? Did you get the book? If you didn't get yeah, let me know if you got the book, and we'll finish off with that, because it's been... Yeah, try 2 milligrams Ativan, lorazepam, and sleep the flight. If I do that, I'm going to wake up in severe pain. Morphine pump installed. Oh, I don't need that. Yeah, good point. Matt Gustafson. The Molly Mobile looks like it's being replaced by a Rusi Chariot. Bud Brown has, I believe, I don't know if I'm speaking out of line or if he hasn't announced this, but yeah, he's moving to gasoline. He likes the Rusi Chariot a lot. I'm not a big fan of them. Everybody I know that's gotten one has had problems because they can only go so fast. because the way the drivetrain's set up, they're always making strange noises and they're pretty rough. But for his purposes, he loves it a lot. He's taken it down to Darwin. He's been cruising around. The problem with the batteries, especially in the tropics, with the heat here, is those batteries don't last a long time. Once they have more efficient batteries, once, you know, for solar and all that stuff, because we had a giant solar array when we were staying down in Darwin, and it powered the whole house. But the batteries were going bad and they need to be repaired, so if you turned on the water heater at like 10 p.m. at night, it would basically shut off the whole system and you had to restart it. So that's that. Dino Dore. Yeah, a lot of rains. A lot of rains. He said when President Duterte was mayor of Davao, he once forced an American tourist to eat a cigarette butt for smoking illegally in public. Yeah, I heard about that. I don't know if it was a foreigner. I don't think it was a foreigner. But it was actually in a restaurant. And the guy was smoking in the restaurant. The restaurant owner warned the guy a couple times and finally called the mayor's office. And dude came down himself, allegedly had a gun, and said, eat that cigarette. And, you know, the guy ate the cigarette. That's what I'd do. President Duterte comes to me. He's got a gun aimed at my head. He says, eat that cigarette. I'll be like, sure, man. No problem. Yeah, Expat in Training says, F all domestic air travel. I'm not looking forward to that flight. It'd be great to see my family and friends and stuff, but it's a tough flight, man. And finally, Merwin Green, bringing it into the American politics sphere, because why not, says, you could do what Obama did. Have your spine removed. That's actually pretty good, Merwin. I like that. Okay, so he's showing the new Chariot. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. Hopefully he'll make it all badass, like something out of Mad Max, like a real like Mad Max style with spikes and all that stuff. You know, body armor on the side, steel panels, because those Chariots, they got a lot of torque. Southern islands particularly are dangerous. Mindanao, spell check now, Bohol, which is right across from Cebu. Be smart wherever you are. That's good advice. Yeah, and there's actually, I believe, in Holo down there, and I believe that's southwest of Zamboanga City. There are, you know, basically foreigners being held down there for ransom all the time. A lot of them are Malaysians. Some Malaysians just escaped. They got away. Vietnamese, they like to target Koreans, Chinese, because they know they'll pay. From what I'm thinking, and from what I'm seeing, and from what I'm hearing from people, Asians actually get targeted more often because they know that a lot of times the family will pay the ransom, even though it's kind of crazy. Because again, a lot of the Asians that come down here to go on vacation and stuff, and they stay at these really high-end resorts. At Alona Beach, there was one that was like $15,000 a night, $20,000 a night. It was some ridiculous amount of money. And they know that with a lot of Western nations, the government won't pay the ransom, you know, because they're not going to do that. They're not going to cooperate and set precedent. You know, I think there was one country that did recently. I'm not really sure, and they got some flack over that. Expat in Training says, we hold people for ransom in North Carolina. You know what? I really like North Carolina. I only lived there for 3 years, and I was basically on, you know, Fort Bragg all the time. But whenever I went out, we went traveling and saw stuff. The people were so nice. The country was beautiful. We went up to the Smoky Mountains and all that. Mark Wadsley says, 5 gears in reverse worries me. Doesn't just have one reverse gear, it's got 5. Man, he can go fast backwards. Yeah, man. Every time, I mean, there's drones all the time down now on the Dumaguete waterfront. Whenever I see one, I'm always looking for Bud because I'm so jealous of his drone. I haven't even checked out any of his drone footage. I got to check that out. So again, we've gone almost half an hour. It's getting hot. I'm starting to sweat through my first t-shirt of the day. I got to turn on the air conditioning. I got things to do. I got to clean the house before Michelle gets back. I got to round up all the empty Red Horse bottles and sweep up all the long black hairs. They can identify all this stuff. Okay, you got it for K4IGLX. Cool. All right. He only drives in reverse. Nice. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's our live cast for this week. Thanks for participating. Thanks again for keeping it civil in the comment section. Make sure you check out all this stuff. Please take all safety precautions when it comes to doing certain things here. If you know the answers to the trivia question, please email them to me. I'm not really good at responding to, and some of you have noted this, Facebook messages and PMs and all this stuff because, I got all this other stuff going on. This is just like a sideline gig. So if you don't hear back from me right away, and sometimes I was answering comments that were like 4 months old on our website a couple weeks ago. Don't take it personally. It's just because I'm lazy, inattentive, and basically self-centered, egocentric, self-serving, and sightless. So that's it. Take care, and I will see you next time on my Philippine